Hello and welcome back to the Lille Regional Championships. I'm still chuckling after that top 8 video. That was amazing. My name's Ross Gilbert and I'm back with the lovely Freya Pearson. Freya, we're going to be taking this to the end now. We got the top 4, we got the final. We've had to say goodbye to Benji, going to get himself a train, but we have got the top 4. We've got Jamie against Oheim, and we've got Nico Alabas against Fabio Battistella.
Yes, and I've got to confess, after the combination of seeing Jamie take down Fabio in the top 8 and seeing that top 8 intro video, I don't know if I'd want to be anyone facing against Jamie right now. That is a man on a mission to win this tournament with Blissey.
Oh, Jamie is playing it loose. Jamie is just relaxed, and I had a great interview with Jamie. Lovely chap. Do you remember what Owen's playing? I can't.
So Owen, of course, we saw in the last feature match there, round 14, was playing that Palkia Inteleon deck that we've seen so much. And,
Jamie's love it. Jamie just doesn't want to play against Giratina, so that's going to be an interesting match. That is not the one we've got here. We've got Nico against Fabio. We've got Giratina against Mew. And there's going to be something kind of wonderful if after all this Lost Origin hype, first European event with Lost Origin, and yeah, it's just won by Mew.
or at the very least, imagine if the finals was Palkia Inteleon against Mew VMAX. It's like the format never changed.
And I know Jamie is going to be hoping that Fabio wins this game because Nico Alabas playing Giratina. I spoke to Jamie at the end, and the theory was simple. Yeah, Blissey beats everything but Giratina. I can't beat Giratina. Why even try? It was a nice, refreshing attitude, and I tell you what, it's got him into a top 4, not playing against Giratina. But we're not going to focus on Jamie, and we're not going to focus on Owen here. We are going to focus on Nico and Fabio, and it looks like we've got a mulligan, actually, from Nico. So Fabio gets a start of at least 1 extra card.
And I've got to say, I am loving Fabio's V-Star marker right here. They're just, you know, the showing the pride colors there. You just really, really love to see it.
Yeah, love to see that. That's wonderful. And Nico, again, a second mulligan. And Mew likes having extra cards. Mew wants to have that big explosive turn 1, get those battle VIP passes, get all those Genesect out, start drawing a whole bunch of extra cards. So, yeah, this isn't bad, ladies and gentlemen. This is not bad at all. No,
it really isn't. Well, for Fabio at least. For Nico, he's probably thinking, I'd like to get a basic now because I really don't want to give Fabio more cards than I already am. And hopefully Nico can find a basic here and we can start things off. Now, as a starting point to kick things off discussion-wise, we have not seen a lot of Mew over the course of this tournament. It has been played. There's been a couple on stream, but it hasn't really been that omnipresent force that we've seen it be in the past. Yet, all the same, one has still made it all the way here to top 4. What do you make of that?
I mean, I've been wandering around a lot looking at the top tables. There's been a bunch of Mew out there, but it's kind of... The thing is, Mew's in a really weird place. It's super fast, super consistent, and it gets a lot of cheeky free wins just by being the fastest deck around. But by the same token, oh my goodness! Oh, that was weird.
That was weird.
We've got all the basics here. We've got 2 Mew, and is that 3 Genesect right off the bat?
That was flip over Mew, bench Genesect, bench Genesect, bench Genesect.
Who needs VIP pass, honestly? Irrelevant in this game. And that is why you don't want a mulligan against a Mew deck. So
no, absolutely not.
Mew struggles against things like Drapion. We've seen Drapion be an imperfect counter. We've seen a lot of Giratina decks playing Drapion, and I'm looking at Nico's deck list here, and I ain't seeing no Drapion.
Nope, I ain't seeing it either. I mean, you can, of course, still get a one-hit knockout on a Mew VMAX if you find that Choice Belt, of course, which, wait, is Nico even playing Choice Belt?
No.
No. Oh.
No, you do have your V-Star power, which will get you 1 KO.
That is true,
But obviously being able to get 1 KO with a V-Star power and 1 KO with a regular attack combined with a choice bout would be huge. Not the case here. That is going to make things a lot more difficult for Nico. Fabio, for his part, is just going to try and get rolling and get this going exactly as we would expect. So there's lots of deck searching going on here. It looks like we're actually playing a quick ball here. So Fabio... This is, I mean, literally perfect setup. Fabio's been in a position where there's been no starting of an imperfect Pokemon or any of that. So what we've got here is nice and simply Mew, 3 Genesect, backup Mew, and an Oricorio, exactly what you'd like. Now that Fusion Strike system is drawing to, you've got 6 cards in your hand. And we do see that Oricorio coming down, clearly worried about the Giratina getting a 1-hit KO on Mew VMAX. Not actually an issue because of lack of choice bout, but does Fabio really know that?
Well, it's hard to say, right? Because obviously you have some idea of what everyone is playing at this point. You've been in a tournament for so long. You probably have maybe you've even seen some of the games that have been going on already. So it could be that Fabio knows Nico's list. If he does, I'm sure he'll probably factor into that his playmaking. But we'll have to wait and see how it plays out here.
We will. Now, we do see a Chorus's experiment coming down, getting 2 cards into the lost zone, 3 cards into the hand. So that is absolutely lovely. You're starting that train off. Would be nice to try and get 2 more in the lost zone so you get that free attack with a Cramorant here. As it stands, you are still a couple of cards away. A couple of Comfy will do it, and this Quick Ball, presumably getting a Comfy, is a nice start. Or could indeed be getting a Giratina because you want to start building that up as well.
Yeah, so Quick Ball discarding the Giratina V-Star there. And yeah, this is going to be the first deck search across Nico, so he's going to take a quick look to check to see what's prized. Going to see that, obviously the 2 scoop up net in the prize is not really ideal there, but otherwise mostly pretty okay to work with, I would say. Although if he's fishing for Luminion specifically, maybe for a supporter, then that might be an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do, and we see this a lot with the players, when they're doing their first deck search, it takes a while. What they're really doing here is trying to figure out what's prized. Now, we do know there's 2 scoop up net prize for Nico and the Luminion. They're the really relevant things. There is also a Mirage Gate, but there'll be more of those in the deck. But the 2 scoop up net and the Luminion absolutely could be relevant. So what Nico's doing here is trying to figure out what's prized so that he can make the best choices for actually going through. Still playing that Quick Ball and just trying to figure out, right, what exactly is the best, right now, what is the best play I can actually muster here? Yeah, it is a Comfy.
It is a Comfy. And of course, this does make sense, right? Although you want to get your Giratina down as soon as possible so that you can evolve it and start attacking with it, you can't really Mirage Gate to it until you get all those cards in the Lost Zone. So Nico, recognizing that and aiming to get out his consistency engine first by benching a Comfy.
Yeah, and that's always a good thing to do. We know we are missing 3 pivoting options. There are 3 switching options in the prizes for Nico. That's not a great thing. It's going to make things a bit more difficult. And we actually see a manual retreat. Of course, that's fine. Any attack here will be with the Cramorant. So we are flower selecting. We see a boss's orders going into the Lost Zone. It's not ideal. There's only 2 in the deck. So that is going to potentially be relevant later on. And it looks like Nico has passed. No? Has he passed?
Oh, yeah.
Now he's passed. Not a great start. Didn't get the 4th card in the Lost Zone. Didn't get an attack. Didn't get a Giratina, which means no V-Star is coming out next turn. And this has really opened the door for Fabio to have one of those fast Mew starts.
Yeah, honestly, thinking about it, does Nico even have another supporter in his hand? Because if he doesn't, this game could actually end very quickly. Nico did not do much that turn.
No, that was a very, very bad turn. We played the supporter. We used Comfy, and that was basically it. Cramomatic, it is. Flip it on the table. I can't see. I'm assuming a Tails because he hasn't gone and searched.
Yeah, I would think so as well. Ultra Ball coming in to play there, discarding what looks to be a power tablet and a boss's orders potentially. Not quite sure. Either way,
escape rope, I believe.
Right. But either way, obviously going for the Mew VMAX and already set up to take knockout this turn, so Fabio doesn't really need much else. The Double Turbo is already committed to the Mew VMAX on the bench, but
might have been a boss's orders.
Anyway, either way,
carry on.
Yeah, either way, yeah. Oh, cross switcher as well. So Fabio just really not interested at all in seeing that Cramorant put in some damage and looking to get the KO on it, or maybe possibly just playing it to burn the cross switchers out of the hand to draw more cards. Either way, Fabio is very much in the lead right now, and it's going to be on Nico to see if he can find something off of another flower selecting.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you though, Freya. I would have preferred to get the KO on the Comfy here.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Because that Cramorant's not on board. It's not attacking yet. And the Comfy is going to pretend, it's going to give you an extra card. That could be the difference between setting up and not setting up. But like you say, cross switcher, maybe it was the only way to get the Mew into... Wait, it was a Mew active, wasn't there?
Yeah, so I don't think it's necessarily the only way to get Mew into the active.
No.
It might be playing the cross switchers was the only way to thin cards out of the hand to draw more. I think that's kind of what I'm getting here.
Yeah, no, I think you're right about that, because the Mew can just retreat for free. So, yeah, it's not a bad play by any stretch of the imagination. You are drawing lots with that Genesect, trying to make sure you set up for future turns. And look, at the end of the day, if Nico's going into his turn with just a single Comfy and nothing good in hand, that's still a pretty advantageous position for Fabio to be in.
Yeah, and Fabio looks like just about to end the turn on, of course, that cross-fusion strike, going to be copying Technoblast, I imagine, and KOing that Cramorant, leaving Nico with just one turn to find some more Pokemon or anything to try and do some kind of setup. And there it is.
Yeah, and the Mew V Max has free retreat just like the Mew. There is a Mew on the bench with a double turbo energy. So literally all Fabio needs next turn is a Mew V Max to start chaining those attacks. Nico needs to get a basic down this turn. It does look like there's a Galarian Zigzagoon in hand, but really? Like, that's it?
Yeah, there is also a capture energy, actually. So I imagine Nico is going to have to attach that capture energy to the Comfey and then search his deck for a basic and get one out of the deck and onto the bench that way. But even then, you don't really want to be attaching to Comfey here. You want to be attaching to Giratinas, and Nico doesn't have a Giratina out yet.
And here's the problem. Giratina's got 220 HP. Mew hits for 210. So, and Mew plays a lot of damage modifiers, your power tablet, your choice belt, things of that nature. So that basically means that if a Giratina does hit the bench, Fabio is going to have a turn to get a free hit. It's another reason why I really don't like using those cards, you know, those gusting cards, unless you absolutely have to. But I think Fabio did have to keep the train rolling. It's an unfortunate thing that Fabio was kind of pushed into. But if a Giratina does hit the field, I want to see Fabio just digging and digging to try and get that gusting there, because, you know, cutting off that Giratina before it even gets going could be big. Now, we do see 5 cards in the Lost Zone now, so at least that Cramorant is on board, but it is going to be a free hit KO on Mew.
Yeah, I mean, the Cramorant was actually on board as soon as Fabio took a knockout, because he also put down a Lost City, which sent the first Cramorant to the Lost Zone, and that was the 4th card that Nico needed. In that instance, of course, with the flower selecting, finding something we didn't quite see, and a Battle VIP pass. Actually, the boss's orders now coming into play to bring up the Oricorio to the active. Temple of Sinnoh as well to shut off the double turbo energies.
And then we get the KO on the Oricorio. Temple of Sinnoh is a great counter to Mew. Path to the Peak is great because it turns off Genesect. Temple of Sinnoh is great because it turns off those double turbo energies. And these are the lists that play 4 double turbo energy, and that's it. That's all they actually want to play.
Yes, this is the fusionless Mew VMAX build, as they call it. So Fabio's going to need to either find another double turbo energy to attach, and that way that would count as, you know, 2 colorless to provide the attack cost. Either that, or going to need to find a counter stadium or some way to get rid of that Temple of Sinnoh.
Silene comes down, but it is a double tails. That is not what you're looking for. And Fabio here, it's looking a little bit rough. He's flicking our cards in hand, but not actually playing anything. We do see Power with Silene, and yes, it was a boss's orders earlier.
Yes.
Now it's going back into the deck, but this Temple of Sinnoh is a real problem.
Yeah, right now it is. It forces Fabio to either attach extremely awkwardly or to try and dig for a counter stadium. Of course, digging is what Mew does, so it's well within the realms of possibility that Fabio will find it, but Fabio's going to have to burn a lot of resources from his hand to do so, and that in and of itself is awkward too.
Yeah, we see the switch card coming down there. We don't need the switch card. We've got free retreat, but it's just burning a card from the hand. We then saw a Mew hit the bench. We've got a double turbo energy on the Mew. And there we go. I was thinking that double turbo could have gone on the active to guarantee the KO. It would have been awkward, but it would have worked. Didn't need to. Lost City comes down. Love this. And this is perfect. Ultra Ball getting rid of 2 Battle VIP pass that weren't going to be any good anyway.
Insanely strong comeback turn from Fabio, finding everything he needs. The extra energy, the counter stadium, Ultra Ball to get rid of 2 dead cards in the hand. You've got to be smiling if you're Fabio here.
Hey, that's a great turn from Fabio. That was really, really nice. Got everything they needed. And now they're just set up and ready to roll. They've got a backup Mew on the bench with... In fact, they've got a backup Mew on the bench with a double turbo energy and a choice belt. And they've got a Mew V with a double turbo energy. So Fabio is really setting up here to just have a really, really spectacular just game as a whole. They've taken 2 prizes. And once again, Nico is in a super awkward position, just relying on that top deck of, you know, and the top deck and then the card from flower selecting. And that is, yeah, that is going to get annoying as we go through the game. That if they're not able to do anything other than just flower select, it's not going to work.
Honestly, awkward is an understatement. Nico is now out of both of the Cramorants. They are now both in the Lost Zone, so Nico is not going to be able to attack with Cramorant for the rest of the game. So now he's going to have to be forced to venture Giratina, and if he can't find 2 to put down at the same time, Fabio's just going to pick those off with gusting cards and like take a very easy win.
Yeah, I think we're in a situation where you can't give the win to Fabio
No,
yet,
no, of course.
But we're not far away, Freya. We're not far away from from giving the win to Fabio. This is looking really, really nice here. We do see Chorus's experiment, which is at least something.
Yeah, Nico already has what looks to be 8 cards in the Lost Zone currently, so both Mirage Gate and Star Requiem currently live, if Nico can even reach them, though. We haven't even seen a Giratina hit the field yet, so it's a bit of a stretch for now. But yeah, Nico needs to just find more attackers and find them fast.
Yeah, Fabio, I mean, this game basically comes down to gusting. Fabio needs literally a single Mew VMAX, and then there's 3 attackers all set up, ready to go. They can retreat. I know you can't attack in consecutive turns copying Genesec's attack, but that's fine because you can just retreat in between all the Mews. And literally at this stage, all Fabio really needs is gusting, making sure that if and when a Giratina hits the field, Fabio can just gust it up and KO. And that's the thing for Nico. Nico, I mean, has to know this. You can't just bench 1 Giratina. You've got to bench 2 and pretty much accept the fact that 1 is going down. If you just bench 1, it's going to get KO'd, and then the same thing's going to happen next time you bench 1.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It looks like Nico only found the means to get 1. I do see a quick ball in the hand, so that was probably found from the Chorus experiment. That can get you 1 Giratina V, but... Oh, and finds a Snorlax as well. Like, I mean, that could work as an alternative attacker. There's the Mirage Gate, so maybe Nico going to try and just focus on single prize attackers, but, I mean, this is the only single prize attacker that's really left.
Yeah, it was like you said, those Cramorant are unfortunately they're chilling in the Lost Zone. It's not looking amazing. You can't get stuff back from the Lost Zone. That's why it's called the Lost Zone. But Snorlax can at least hit 180 damage, goes to sleep, and probably stays asleep, but at least you get to do 180 damage. That is a decent amount that you can then come in and finish off with something else. 150 HP is beefy, but not that relevant against a Mew. But it's at the point where Nico just needs to attack with something. But it does look like... Oh, what do we see here? Was that a... Oh, it was an escape rope. Fabio chooses to put the Genesect up, and this is an interesting one. It looks like he's just kind of going, yeah... The Genesect's fine. It hit the Genesect. We'll be okay. Of course, the Mew all have free retreat, and there are, well, 3 of them want to last 1 V maxes, but here doesn't want to put any of them in the firing line.
Yeah, and it is interesting actually as well because Genesect, of course, having 190 HP, Snorlax is 10 hit points short of KOing it, which is, of course, you know, a little bit awkward. You would like to be able to get the KO if possible, but Nico does have some ways of course, getting that extra 10 with the Galarian Zigzagoon, for example. So that would be a way of getting a little extra push over the cliffs to actually make the knockout. And there it is. There
we go. So, I mean, Fabio kind of had to know this. It's not unusual to see Galarian Zigzagoon in these Lost Box decks. So we do see a KO, and Nico's actually taken 3 prizes here. Somehow, Nico, after the terrible start, is ahead in the game, and there's no 2-prize Pokemon out, and this is what scares me about Nico's side of the board. When you put a 2-prize Pokemon out, it is going to be hunted down. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. Fabio is going to be searching for that gusting. So the question for Nico is, when do you try and get those Giratina established? Because, I mean, what are you going to do? Sableye to try and win? Snorlax is about to get KO'd.
I honestly think that Nico is trying to play as single prize a game as possible. The Giratina deck isn't a single prize Lost Zone box deck, but it does have a lot of single prize attackers, and you can just about get 6 single prizes out with the combination of all the cards in there. You have Cramorant, you have the 2 Cramorant, the 1 Sableye, the 1 Snorlax, and 1 Ordinary Rod. That's 6 Pokemon. You could actually, in theory, attack only with single prizes in this kind of deck.
You could, but you're running out of good options. I suppose if Snorlax comes back with Ordinary Rod, that would give you an option, but Lost City is in play, so that's Snorlax.
No, it's not. It just got removed from play with a Lost Vacuum the turn before.
Oh, it's positioned like it's in there, but it's not in there. It is in the Lost Zone. So that does mean that Snorlax is going to potentially come back with Ordinary Rod, which is nice. But, I mean, maybe you then get a KO on a Genesect, but... It's going to be hard to pull that off multiple times. I'm worried that as we get to the late game, Nico is not going to be able to do the damage needed. Nico's been kind of ignoring Mew up to now, and at some point you've got to think you've got to go through a Mew.
Yeah, and also Fabio did just happen to draw the cross switcher, although imagine probably not going to be using it this turn, given that, you know, this Snorlax is very much the thing that needs to be killed right now. It is the immediate attacking threat, and yeah, actually just goes for the Marnie.
Yeah, Marnie's quite good, trying to limit Nico's options. I see what Nico's doing here, and I like it. I worry that there's not going to be enough beef as we come down to the end of the game. Now, if Nico was playing a Drapion in the list, this would be the perfect time to just drop Drapion, KO Mew, win, go home, have a lovely time. Jobs are good, and unfortunately, there is no Drapion in the list, So Nico can try it. There's no single prizes left. So Nico is either going to have to take down 2 Genesect or a Mew in order to close this game out. And I don't think either of those is going to be an easy thing to do.
No, I mean, even with the Sableye, right, Lost Mine Zooms were sprinkling, what, 120? That's a free hit knockout on a Mew VMAX.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like a good maths to me.
I mean, the thing that really gets me is Snorlax for 180 plus Sableye is 300. You can then get the KO with something like a Galarian Zigzagoon, though remember, 2 scoop-up nets are prized, but that's a lot to ask just to try and get it. And maybe that's the answer. You know, that is potentially an option. Maybe it is. Get Sableye, drop 12 damage counters, try and recover Snorlax, get Mirage Gate onto it, scoop up net for the Galarian Zigzagoon. Yay! But that's a lot to try and ask.
And not only that, but Fabio, if that happens, does have an option for a counterplay. There is still a Mew V on the board, so Fabio could just use Psychic Leap and take all of that damage away.
Yeah, and if anybody's wondering why Fabio has left a Mew on the bench unevolved, Ferrer has absolutely just hit the nail on the head. Mew V's attack is actually sneaky good, letting you basically shuffle it into the deck to heal everything while doing a little bit of damage. And the thing is, you've got to have a Mew on the bench to copy with Mew V Max. So if you watch these Mew V Max players, you will rarely see them just V Max all of the Mew because you want that option available to you as you go through the game. And Fabio's got such a good setup here. He's actually got a Mew V Max and a Mew on the bench, so that is not going to really deplete the resources at all. Nico is using flower selecting here. We don't have an attacker out right now. And essentially, it's kind of got to be Sableye or Nico starts the route towards the Giratina. But if you're starting the route towards the Giratina, and to be fair, what you could do here, bench 2 Giratina. 1 gets KO'd, you haven't lost the game. Boom, Star Requiem, win the game. I think that's probably Nico's best job here.
Yes, I think so as well. The Chorus 6 experiment gets resolved, and another Battle VIP pass hitting the Lost Zone. There are so many cards in the Lost Zone right now, almost a quarter of Nico's deck, it looks like.
14, according to our count. And the judges have been really hot on the Lost Zone count this weekend, so shout out to them for being awesome and making our lives an awful lot easier, because we can't count that from here in the middle of a game.
No, definitely not. Although, I mean, the biggest struggle for Nico is that I don't believe that he was able to find the Ordinary Rod. I didn't see it in the Chorus 6 experiment, at least. I'm sure that if he did get it, he would have sort of slammed it down immediately. But is he finally decided to bench the Giratina V? No, yeah. I mean, you have to, yeah.
You have to. There are 2 routes to victory. It's Snorlax plus Sableye plus Scoop Up Net, but 2 of them are prized. That's awkward. Or it is Giratina getting that Star Requiem. You want to, if you bench 2, I love Nico's position in this game because Fabio cannot take 3 prizes next turn. Essentially, Nico is saying, look, oh, there is a second one.
From the Capture Energy, yes.
Oh,
okay.
Beautiful. Right, now I love Nico's position. Next turn, if Nico has Giratina V-Star and Mirage Gate, that's game.
Yeah, that is. There are enough cards in the Lost Zone to enable the Star Requiem to happen, and that's just an instant knockout, 3 prizes that will win. So I'm sure that's what Nico is thinking of right here. And that makes it very important for Fabio to have some kind of disruption to Nico's hand this turn.
Yeah, like I said, you could not, but you could bench 1, but you had to just cross your fingers and hope upon hope that your opponent wasn't able to get any gusting. Here, we're in a much better position. This is looking really quite nice for Nico. And this is weird, like the beginning of the game, Nico had almost nothing. And I'm going back to the beginning of the game where Fabio kind of was pushed into using that cross switcher. Ended up KOing the Cramorant rather than the Comfy, and that 1 flower selecting really did help Nico back on the road to having something out there. And I'm wondering if that's something that Fabio would want to take back if he could go back in time, which of course we know we can't. That would be weird.
Yeah, that's not how the world works, unfortunately, but Fabio in the meantime actually now opting to evolve the bench Mew V into a VMAX, and of course going to be probably digging for that. Does he play Roxanne? He must do, surely. Maybe not. We've not seen it in order list this weekend. Actually, no.
Yeah,
yes,
one copy of Roxanne, as there tends to be. 3 prizes remaining. That 1 Roxanne has got to be it. It's prized. It's right there.
It's right
in the top right corner of the prizes.
Oh my! Okay.
So that 1 of Roxanne, there's no point digging for it. It's not going to be there. I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think that's an excellent point. I think Roxanne would be great right now if it wasn't prized.
Yes. So that 1 of Roxanne is probably going to scupper Fabio's chances to scupper Nico's plans as it is. And yeah, and now Fabio's just left in a very awkward position as it goes for the poker stop, just putting it down to draw an extra Genesect. And there's a Marnie. Okay.
It's not perfect, but it's the best we've got. Nico, it's kind of like a, well, it's probably only a 2-card combo, because Fabio's going to KO the Comfy, and if Nico can do it, he can just put the Giratina in the active, and it really is as simple as V-Star, Mirage Gate, announce the attack, boom, free prizes, win from a very, at least initially, pretty unfavorable position.
Yeah, very much so. And from Fabio's side, there's not really much he can do to control this either. There's, he has to just hope that Nico doesn't have it, but it's 2 cards to win. And, and he's got 4 of the money. Like, that's why Roxanne was so important. And, of course, Comfy can dig for the combo with Flower Selecting as well. So Nico has plenty of opportunities to hit this here.
Yeah, Nico, he doesn't have it. If he had it, he would have just put the Giratina active.
Of course,
So this is your way of saying, look, I don't have it yet, so let's use Comfy, let's Flower Select, let's try and get a couple more. Of course, this does make things a little bit awkward because this forces you to have a pivoting option to get the Comfy out and the Giratina in as well as the others, but maybe Comfy gets you into a supporter card that can get you multiple cards. You need something here because let's be super clear. If Nico doesn't win this turn, Fabio needs gusting for game, and Fabio's drawn so many cards, I refuse to believe he doesn't have a boss's orders right now.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Nico using Fabio's Pokestop ends up discarding 3 non-items, just an Energy of Chorus's experiments, and I believe it was something not really relevant right now. Concealed cards coming in to draw some extras, but still not quite there, it looks like. We already do know as well that Nico has 1 Giratina V-Star in the discard pile. I do believe Nico plays free for looking at the list. He actually plays a 2-free Giratina line, interestingly enough.
Yeah, that's just weird.
I imagine it's from the basis of you are more likely to, hit a Giratina V earlier on.
Yeah, because you've got Battle VIP Pass and Quick Ball. Basics are easier to search, and that does seem to be the game. It looks like Nico was scooped.
Yeah, I guess Nico just knows the writing was on the wall, wasn't able to find the Giratina V-Star, wasn't able to find the energy to attack, so Fabio just takes game 1.
Absolutely. We'll all just get 100% confirmation there that Nico did scoop, but it does seem like we do see game 1 going for Fabio. And Nico, that was a weird game there.
That was a very weird game, especially because at the end there, Nico basically had the perfect game plan to really steal the win, but it just looks like the draws didn't find their way to him.
No. I mean, to be fair, early game, that was rough. That game almost ended in like 2 turns. But Nico, it was one of those weird things where you're drawing badly, but you're kind of cheekily poking away, taking little prizes, things of that nature, and, just about keeping your head above water. And then it's just, can you KO a Mew? And it was so close. He even benched the double Giratina, and actually benching the double Giratina when you're only playing 2, that's super awkward. I do worry about things like, using Comfy and seeing double Giratina. But again, I think the fact that you're using double VIP Pass early means that the chances of Comfying into double Giratina or, having to discard it off of a Chorus's experiment are almost 0.
Yeah, and you do have, even in the worst case scenario, when you do that, you have other attackers you can rely on as well. You have that Sableye, you have the Cramorants, you have the Snorlax. All of these can put into a lot of work as well, as we also saw in game 1.
We did, but they were really good against other Pokemon. It's important, and I think it's interesting to know, Nico did, nothing against Mew. It was really, picking off those little Pokemon, even taking out a Genesect. But Nico knew that the Mew had to be... It's kind of like one of those things like, right, you guys are going to get the little Pokemon. You leave Mew to me.
Yes.
Because Giratina's the only thing that Nico can really use to go after that Mew. There is a fist bump, and we do see confirmation there that Fabio won. We were 90% sure, but just have an absolute confirmation there. Because it was another one of those like we saw earlier. It was a fairly uneventful scoop, but it was after Nico went and just whiffed those 2 cards he needed for the game. And oh, look, turn 1 Battle VIP Pass.
Yeah, Nico got to be feeling pretty good about that. Gonna once again take a look through. Already looking at that Radiant Greninja, it looks like really sort of paying credence to how valuable it is in the early game to just draw extra cards and set up your discard pile. The discard pile setup, of course, not being as important in this deck specifically because you're not really accelerating energies from the discard pile in this deck like you are at Palkia, but it is still good to thin cards out of the deck, and when you need the energies later on, you can always put them back in the deck with Energy Recycler and Ordinary Rod. Yeah,
it's nice to, there's easily recoverable. Lost Zone, you can't get stuff back. Discard pile, you absolutely can. The good news is we've got a full 50 minutes here to play these last 2 games. That should be good enough to have a proper best of 3. We only just made it in top 8, but we did just about get that full Well, kind of got a full game. We didn't quite finish, but it was close enough. These games this weekend are going long, Freya. We're working overtime here.
Yeah, it certainly does feel that way. And Capture Energy coming in as well straight away on the Cramorant for Nico to do another deck search and going to get a second Comfey down onto the bench. They're going to be looking, I imagine, to retreat manually into them to start that chain of flower selectings and get Lost Zone going as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's always the plan. That Lost Zone needs to be filled up. It's a really interesting mechanic. We had it a couple of times in the past. It went away for a while. And then in Lost Origin, they're like, hey, look, the Lost Zone's back. But we've got all these cards that rely on having cards in the Lost Zone. It's a really interesting mechanic. And you've got, Comfey's one of those cards where I looked at it initially and I'm like, oh, Comfey's pretty good. And then I played with it and I'm like, oh, Comfey's pretty good. I was not prepared for quite how good Comfey was.
I'm not going to lie, I was expecting there not good from pretty good to very good.
I was hoping a tone of voice was going to convey it. But yeah, Comfey is one of those cards. It's risky, but it doesn't even have to be used in a Lost Zone engine. It's just that good. But obviously you've got cards like Sableye, like Mirage Gate that are so gosh darn good when combined with that Lost Zone engine. I've certainly been testing a whole bunch of random decks that aren't Giratina decks where I'm just playing that Lost Zone engine because it's a really good engine.
It does look like as well that Fabio has another insanely stacked hand of Pokemon. Starts off in an Ultra Ball discarding a Silene and a Switch cart and is going to be able to get out a Mew and Genesect from that and already has 2 Genesect and an Oricorio in hand. Look, there they are.
Yeah, Fabio starts here have been absolutely stunning. It's been really, really good. And Fabio did not quite get the momentum we were hoping at the start of last game. We got all the Pokemon, those Mew were on the bench from very early on in the game, but it was kind of a little Pokemon here, a missed attack there. It was never really quite what we were hoping for. It was taking out the Cramorant when you really wanted to probably take out the Comfey. It was a good start, but it took a little bit of luck at the end for Nico to miss in order to actually close out the game. So we're hoping here that Fabio can just have that good start and really start running. And then with Nico, the question is, at what point do you actually bench that Giratina? Because I don't think we saw any bench turn 1, did we? So that's kind of awkward because now we're in that situation we're in where if you bench one, there is one bench. There is one there on the bench. So Nico is going to be looking to evolve that next turn because if you don't, things could get hairy quickly.
Yeah, and even if Nico does evolve it, of course, a few power tablets, and it could still be hairy as long as Fabio can find a gusting card. And I think that's one of the reasons why in the early stages of Game 1, Nico was perhaps avoiding benching Giratina because ultimately that can be so easily picked off by Mew's attack. So if you can get yourself into a position where you bring it in only later on, where you can use it to finish off the game by taking the last 3 prizes, then it's not so bad.
No, and that almost worked for Nico, taking the cheeky prizes early on and then just really bringing in later, but it didn't work. Now, it is worth noting one of those 2, Cramorant, is prized for Nico. The only Snorlax is prized for Nico, so those single prize Pokemon are not as readily available. We're literally down to 1 Sableye and 1 Cramorant, which is, it's not nothing, but it's not quite the same. And it looks like Fabio's dropping a Marnie here. It's kind of cool seeing Mew playing Marnie because you know what? Mew's got so much draw power with that Fusion Strike system on Genesect, it's unlikely to draw nothing, so you can just use it largely as disruption.
Yeah, so much draw power, but I think Fabio has actually missed the attack here.
No.
After all those Genesects, I think the first 2 ended up clogging Fabio's hand a bit too much, and now and then off the 3rd one, he got the Marnie, played it, hoping to hit something, but yeah, that's a miss.
That's terrible. That is no energy, no VMAX, and that is a huge opening for Nico here. Fabio is supposed to take the first couple of prizes. That is the way the game is supposed to go. Fabio is supposed to pick off these little Pokemon while Nico builds up the big Genesect, and that's not how we're rolling here. So, yeah, we do see a Chorus's experiment trying to build up that Lost Zone a little bit. There is an argument for Nico here to just try and 2-hit KO Genesect with Cramorant. That would work. It's not perfect, but it is an option.
Yes. So, Chorus's experiment. Can't quite see what Nico has hit there, but it looks like actually the Luminion V and 1 Psychic Genji going to the Lost Zone, so that's 3 in the Lost Zone now. We're not quite at the stage of the Mirage Gate yet, but we are only 1 away from being able to attack with the Cramorant, and the Comfey, of course, will get there with the Flower selecting, and Mirage Gate going into the Lost Zone. That is now 4 in the Lost Zone, and Cramorant is now live. Could we see a repeat of Game 1 where Nico just decides to use something to bring up the Oricorio and KO it for the first prize of the game?
Quite possibly. We do see that Genesect coming out into the active, so it looks like we are just going to be hitting a Genesect here for 110. It's not bad, and I actually kind of like this because, of course, that puts that Genesect into Sableye range, so at some point later in the game, Nico can take a cheeky 2 prizes by dropping damage counters with that Sableye, which is always a nice thing to try and do.
Of course, Nico did play the escape rope to bring up the Cramorant, so Fabio was never going to bring up the Oricorio in that instance.
No, that was never going to happen.
Yeah, but here you go, Cramomatic, heads on Cramomatic this time. Okay, this could now be an insane turn for Fabio. A KO on the Giratina is not off the cards right now. And if that happens, Fabio's lead in this game is going to be absolutely immense.
Yeah. Oh, wait. We haven't looked at the prizes yet. There's 3 double turbo energy prized.
Oh, my goodness. What?
No wonder he whiffed the energy. How did we spot that earlier, Freya? Yeah, that's bad. There's still 1 in the deck. But let's hope you use the Cramomatic to get the energy here.
We were so focused on like the board state, and because I think we didn't see the prizes right at the beginning, so we didn't even think that we're just so focused. Oh, they're doing their setups, and then wow, okay, that explains a lot. Then
that's not good.
That's really not good.
Oh no, now there is still, and this is one of the downsides of playing this kind of deck. You're playing 4 energy and only 4 energy. If 1 is prized, now Fabio has searched the deck, so knows that the energy is prized. So, I mean, what's the play here? You need to, I mean, digging for just a one-off card, which unfortunately is what his energy is here, is, that's risky, I think is fair to say.
I'm wondering if maybe with that Cramomatic, Fabio was sort of did not quite fully realize how, little prize, but there we go. Okay.
I was going to say, hey, I was just double-checking the wording on Cramomatic, making sure I wasn't being silly. He played Cramomatic and didn't get the Oni energy in his deck. Luckily, has been bailed out, flips the heads on another Cramomatic, and now straight for the energy. And I think you're right. I think there was just a moment where, I mean, look, nobody expects 3 of your 4 energy to be prized.
No, that's just even, you could just easily do a deck search right and not even sort of notice right. You just think to yourself, oh yeah, I'm just looking through. Of course, there's not going to be that many double turbo energy prize, but that's why it's really important to check your deck well, because you need to be able to spot something like that.
Yeah, there's something to be learned watching here, ladies and gentlemen. Check your deck very thoroughly, because sometimes your prizes, I don't have much sympathy for people moaning about prizes. We all have bad prizes every game, most of the time. But 3 of your 4 energy prize, okay, that I will listen to.
Yeah.
Now, we have seen the Giratina being gusted into the active. We do have the Mew there. We've got the Choice Belt. We've got the Power Tablet. I believe we are 10 damage away as it stands at the moment.
So from it'll be 2 power tablets. No, 2 power tablets would be enough already, wouldn't it?
We've played 1 Power Tablet and a Choice Belt, which is 270.
Right, so yes, we do 1 more damage modifier, right? It's 3 modifiers after double turbo to get the KO.
Yes. Yeah, of course, double turbo will reduce it by 20. Actually doesn't really make much difference.
Yeah.
It's not 270, it's 250.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter. Yes. Either way, you need 1 more damage modifier.
Yes.
So the maths remains the same regardless. Is there another Power Tablet? Oh, don't tell me. Fabio, you're so close. Tell me there's 1 more in the hand.
I don't think there is. I think there's a Rotom Phone. I think there's a Quick Ball, but no ways to draw more cards. So I think, yes, he's going to play the Rotom Phone now.
And there is a Power Tablet in those cards.
Wait, is there?
I think I see it. There's definitely a Cramomatic. I thought I saw the. I thought I saw it there. I might have missed it. We only got a small view here.
Yes.
I did see it. There is a Power Tablet, but we've already seen the draw from all 3 of the Genesect. So,
absolute heartbreaker. Fabio's so close to pulling off an absolutely insane turn, but just that 1 damage modifier short of being able to take the knockout on the Giratina V-Star.
And I suppose you can now use use Mew to copy Oricorio to drop 5 damage counts and get the KO, but it's not the same.
No, it's really not. And so, a very sad for Fabio, 250 damage on this Giratina, not a knockout, and Nico's now thinking, I really dodged a bullet here.
Yeah, that could have been the absolute worst case scenario for Nico, going down 2 prizes, losing that. Here's the other thing. If Nico gets a KO here, the game's over. Because Fabio literally has no energy. Fabio has 1 energy available. It is attached to his Mew. If Nico KOs this Mew, Fabio literally can't attack because all the remaining energy is in his prizes. There's no Peoria, I'm assuming, in his deck. Or Peonia, sorry. Peoria is where the regionals happened in the US the other day.
I don't believe so. No, I don't see it.
I don't think there's any way to get them out.
No, there would be one way, which is the Silene, but he discarded that turn 1.
Wow, not ideal.
No.
So, yeah, I'm fairly sure a KO here with Giratina would literally end the game.
Yeah, and I think it's very much not out of reach for Nico either. He does still need to get quite a few more cards in the lost zone to get there. That is the kind of one thing saving Fabio right now. I don't see Nico doing much to make that happen right now, so maybe he just doesn't have any switching outs. He's currently quick balling for something. It looks like to be like a third Comfey perhaps, just to really be able to do a chain of flower selectings if possible, but I am not entirely convinced from the way Nico's body language and actions are that he has it the means to get 7 in the lost zone in this turn.
No, that would be a lot of effort. All you would need...
Yeah, oh, look at that. Like Mirage Gates, Battle VIP Pass, but Temple of Sinnoh, but no switching out.
No, so it's not going to happen, unfortunately. Can attack for 280, I suppose, if there's Mirage Gate and energy in hand. But,
well, no, because there's only 4 in the lost zone. That's the whole.
Oh,
that's the whole,
yes,
that's the whole
of course,
point.
of course. I was hoping, sorry, I'm so fixated on Mirage Gate. You're right, there's not enough. Oh, this is worst case scenario for Nico. We don't like this. Well, I mean, to be fair, Fabio loves this,
yes.
But Nico's not a fan.
So we're talking about Nico dodging a bullet. Now Fabio has dodged a massive bullet as well. Yeah, Nico just passes. That's all he can do.
That is not an ideal situation by any stretch of the imagination. And actually, there's a cool little play here where Fabio, you might as well KO using Oricorio's attack, Glistening Droplets. You can drop 5 damage counters any way you like, so you would kind of drop 3 onto Giratina, and then there's 2 that you can drop anywhere else, and that could be on a Comfey, so then Glistening Droplets again would get a KO on that Comfey. It's not a huge play, but it's just these little things that could end up being relevant later on in the game.
Avery as well, at a devastating time for Nico, forced to discard 2 Comfeys on the bench and left with just 1 and a Cramorant and a Greninja.
Oh, this is going to be bad. Fabio is looking like he's wanting to really get it. I mean, they both want to get into the final, but Fabio's playing right now like he really wants it. Getting that Avery down, hurting that bench. I am loving this from Fabio.
Yeah, and is Fabio even considering a cross-switcher as well? Oh, wait, of course, he can bring something else into deactive and then do that Glistening Droplets play.
Yeah, he can.
Amazing heads-up play from Fabio here. Absolutely sort of putting the lock on this really incredible lead that he has, in spite of the fact that he has 3 double turn
and
price.
Lost City.
Oh my goodness gracious me.
Yeah, it's not going well. That means there is 1 Giratina available for the rest of the game. The Giratina V-Star gets KO'd. The 2 damage, I want to see it on Comfey, because then, then that does open up a Glistening Droplets turn in the future. It's not probably a huge thing, but that could be relevant, and it can be awkward using Mew to do 210 and not be able to attack every turn. Sometimes it's nice to just chill and drop a few droplets.
Yeah, and also Fabio just sort of shaking his head a little bit as he picks the 2 of his free prize double turbos out and just like, oh.
Hey, there they are.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like there's a little bit of confusion about Lost City. No, not necessarily.
I think the question is, because the Pokemon was KO'd by damage counters rather than damage, does Lost City still activate? It's more just kind of checking the language on the card, but it does say whenever a Pokemon is knocked out, and there's no other text there, it is just knocked out.
Yep.
So it doesn't have to be knocked out by damage from an attack. So yes, it absolutely would go into the Lost Zone, so not ideal.
Yeah, not ideal at all. So now Nico really on the back foot, as if he wasn't on the back foot enough already. Left with only a 1-2 Giratina line in the deck. No ways to get back the Giratinas that were KO'd just now because of the Lost City. Only 1 Comfey on the field, and Fabio with a complete board setup. What does Nico even do here?
Not much, honestly. And here's the thing, we're now in a situation where Nico literally cannot double Giratina. There's only 2 Giratina in the deck. One of them is now in the Lost Zone. So Nico, if Nico wants to use Giratina at any point in this game, they have to bench Giratina, knowing that Fabio has the opportunity to gust and KO it, and there is nothing Nico can do about it.
No, nothing at all, and Nico probably recognizes this as well. Did he even quick ball for anything? It's hard to see what he quick ball for. Was that a Sableye? I think it's a Sableye, it looks like. It's something purple.
You kind of have to go. So, I mean, at least the Sableye can KO the benched Genesect.
With the 6 cards currently in the Lost Zone, though.
Obviously, if there's enough in the lost zone. I thought that went without saying. But genuinely, like that Avery getting rid of those comfy.
Thornton coming into play.
Thornton is lovely. Thornton comes in here. What are we actually doing?
So Thornton just switching the Radiant Greninja with a with the active switching a comfy in the discard with Radiant Greninja just to get another comfy in play. It's a nice play, but it is in a bit more of a desperation bid, unfortunately, at this stage.
Thornton is such an amazing card, but you never see it used to its full effect. I'm sorry. I want to see a crazy tech card come out and get a KO out of nowhere. Switching the Radiant Greninja for comfy is nice, but come on. I want to see some crazy Thornton plays. It would be lovely.
Yeah, and also not only that, but Radiant Greninja is now not in play anymore because it was just discarded. And was that a Mirage Gate onto a comfy just now?
Yes. Sorry, yeah, I have nothing else to add. Yes, it was a Mirage Gate onto a comfy. That's how this game is going for Nico.
I have no words at this point. I think that's...
Well, that's not good, because that's literally why we're here, Freya. We are here for words.
I am aware. But when you get to the point where you have to Mirage Gate onto a comfy, you know that it is bad news. Although, speaking of bad news, Nico has just put down a Temple of Sinnoh, and that could be bad news for Fabio.
That absolutely could. At this stage, maybe Fabio is so far ahead, it's even worth putting the second double turbo energy on. But honestly, Fabio's got so many cards and so many options. There doesn't look to be a stadium. Well, now, was that a second energy or is that a tool? I can't quite see.
I do believe it. Well, it has to be a tool, right? Because Fabio literally only just got the extra energy out of the prize.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. This is only the first turn Fabio's had access to extra energy.
Fabio just had the Pokestop in hand already, so...
Oh, yeah, we saw that in the last game. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you have to have access to a tool in order to put the energy there. That is a heads on the Cramomatic. It's I want to say blue dice, but it could be purple. I don't really know.
Yeah, it's always important to make sure that your rolling die is more distinct from the other damage die, so you don't get confused, I think.
Especially when you're rolling it into a big pile of dice.
Yeah.
Now, we actually see Lost City coming down from the Cramomatic, and I see where you're going here. Pokestop is useful for Nico. Lost City is annoying for Nico. So you need to counter Temple of Sinnoh. That is the most important thing. But putting down a stadium that's annoying rather than one that's helpful... Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, and Boss's orders, it looks like. Gonna bring up this comfy with an energy on it. Maybe thinking, just getting rid of as many resources as possible is the best. Even though Nico is already not working with much, it's just like, yeah, I can get rid of another water energy, leave Nico with nothing out.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the one that's got damage on can be KO'd when it's on the bench with the glistening droplet. So no need to KO it when it's in the active. And this game is going so well for Fabio. You've got to feel for Nico. Nico, you can see, is a higher seed, 2 more wins than Fabio. 2 fewer losses than Fabio. Essentially, Fabio's got 2 losses that were ties for Nico. So Nico's coming in with a better record, having an absolutely storming tournament, loses game 1 and a really unlucky end game scenario after having a bad draws at the beginning of the game, and now this second game has just not gone Nico's way.
No.
We've got Chorus's Experiment. Now we do have 10 cards in the Lost Zone, or we will.
Yes,
but
8 there currently.
But that's nothing to use. We've had stuff to do when there's not enough cards in the Lost Zone, and now we've got enough cards in the Lost Zone with not enough stuff to do.
Yeah, it is very much, as the old saying goes, too little too late for Nico. He needed all this about 3 turns ago, at which point nothing was really going for him.
No, and it's awkward. Oh, we do have confirmation. Jamie has beaten Owen 2-0 to go to the finals. Jamie told us that basically Blissey beats everything but Tina, is in the final, and it looks like, almost impossibly, there were 3 Giratina in top 8. Jamie missed it in top 8, 1. Missed it in top 4, 1. Could well be missing it in the final. Jamie has come in with that incredibly gutsy move of, I lose to one of the best decks in the format, but I probably won't play enough of them. And it might actually be working.
Sometimes the gamble pays off, and if it does, well, you might find yourself in the finals or even winning a regionals. Go figure, right?
I love that. I mean, I've done it myself. Sometimes it works, sometimes it really doesn't. Sometimes in 7 rounds you play 4 of the deck you took the auto loss to. That's not a good tournament. Jamie is having a storming tournament though, so we've got Jamie is already waiting in the final, which also means no real break between games. We can go straight into the final after this.
Yeah, we go back-to-back Pokemon action for you watching at home, and we said it a couple times yesterday, but we're saying it now, you do not want to to go away at this point. If don't you dare. I mean,
No.
you can if you want to, but don't.
One of our goals this weekend has basically been like, no downtime,
Yes.
full content. And I think the team have done a pretty amazing job, to be honest with you. So, yeah, we're going to be going straight into the final after. We do need to finish this one off, however. Fabio is still in a commanding position with a 3 prizes to 0 cushion. Nico does have a Sableye down now, and that Sableye does have an energy on. That's a bonus. That's a good start. But unfortunately, yeah, now this is going to be interesting because Nico's going to get 2 prizes, presumably off that Genesect. The Mew's got 670 damage. It's miles away from anything relevant. But it is kind of, where do you go from here?
Yeah, it's something I'm kind of wondering myself, because of course now you can start spreading some damage with the Lost Mine. There are 12 cards in the Lost Zone, so now finally it's live. Nico actually opting to put 9. How much HP does Oricorio have again? I believe it's 90, right?
I want to say 90, yeah. 90 seems right.
Yeah, so putting 90 onto the Oricorio to KO it, and then putting the extra 30 on the Mew, it looks like. So, yeah, actually not targeting down the Genesect for now. Kind of going ahead and thinking about that prize map, right? We've talked about prize maps before and how you really want to make sure at the start of the game, maybe not mention it in explicit detail, but it's very important to know where exactly your 6 prizes are coming from so you can take them in the most efficient way. Nico, knowing that the Oricorio is down, wanting to target that down first, so then Nico can win the game by taking a KO on a 3 prizer, a Mew VMAX, and a 2 prizer, a Genesect.
Yeah. Very, very relevant, very important. And obviously we did confirm that Oricorio does have 90, and you know we saw that happen on screen as well. Fabio, for his part, it's still not being terribly worried, but Nico has basically decided, I can't use Giratina anymore.
Yeah.
Too much of a liability. So for Nico, it's going to be lots of recovery, and actually, I mean, Fabio here, if he can get another Lost City and Lost Zone this lone Sableye, that is going to make a big, big difference. The question is, how many Lost City does Fabio actually play?
As I recall, he plays 2, and both of them have been used at this point. They've both been countered, so I don't think that's an option, unless maybe he can get in the back of a Silene.
And that is the only option at this stage. Yeah, there are 2 in the list. We have just double-checked, so it would be lovely to get a KO on the Sableye with this. Of course, you notice there is 1 prize that has been taken by Nico as it stands, and it is that Snorlax. Snorlax will be 10 damage away from getting a KO onto that Mew, but Galarian Zigzagoon is absolutely a thing. I don't think it's in the Lost Zone. So that is absolutely an option. Snorlax plus Galarian Zigzagoon will actually do perfect maths here to get a KO on the Mew, and then Sableye finishes off the Genesect. Maybe Nico can still do this.
Maybe he can, who knows. It is very much down to the wire here. Nico has a game plan to take this back. Fabio knows that he's been in the driving seat for this game for so long, and he does not want to relinquish that, of course, at any point. But he is, it looks like there might be some kind of discussion happening.
It does seem to be a discussion happening here. The players have stopped. We can see in Nico's face cam here, there's I think a couple of judges having a chat. So, as always, as soon as we get any confirmation about what's happening, we will absolutely share it with you. And hopefully, as soon as something is resolved, we should hear. And as soon as we hear you have our word, we will let you know as well.
It possibly might be a debate about, so we see Fabio reaching for the top card of the deck. Was perhaps there a claim of like a missed card drawn or something like that? 1 card drawn too many?
I mean, if we see a double prize card penalty here for either player, that's game ending.
Yeah, of course it very much is. So it's, yeah, we will have to obviously come back to this. We will keep you updated once we know more about the situation. In the meantime, yeah, well, what is the best course of action for both of these players? We see, yeah, Nico attacking with the Sableye. It is inevitably going to get KO'd. Of course, because it's going to the discard pile, assuming that Fabio can't get back a Lost City, Nico can get it back with an Ordinary Rod and attack again. But at the same time, he only has 1 Ordinary Rod, so that is only really a one-stop push that he can make.
Well, there's a Mew on the bench. Is there a Mew on the bench, or is it just a Mew V Max? Because Fabio has got a power tablet in hand, so that would open up the play for getting a KO on the Sableye while putting the Mew V Max back into the deck, which would then prevent the 2-hit KO by Nico, while giving Fabio just 2 prizes left to take. It does look like it is a Mew V Max, not a Mew V on the bench.
It is, yeah, we can see it from here.
So, and there is a Mew V prized. So, is that even an option at this stage?
No, there is a 4-3 line, so there is 1 more Mew that, assuming that Fabio hasn't discarded 1, could come down to make that happen.
I mean, that's what I want to see from Fabio here. That would be my play. My plan would be get Mew down, play that play that power tablet, there we go, attack with a Mew, copying the Mew V's attack, get a KO on the Sableye, while healing off that 120 damage from the Mew V Max, taking it completely out of range of Nico, and at which point Fabio needs 2 little prizes, or you kind of almost bait Nico into wanting to play the Giratina, which we know is incredibly risky.
Okay, and it... Okay, so it looks like we have confirmation now that players getting a warning for basically not really keeping track of the game. I think, we don't quite know what the warning was for yet.
We don't know what the warning was for, but there was a little error, nothing major. Both players getting a warning there. No double prize card penalty, none of that. Silene comes down, it's a tails and a heads. So there is a heads there. And it's a lost city.
Of course it is. This is exactly what Fabio wants to do. Get that lost city back. He can now draw it with the Genesect, play it down, KO the Sableye, and now Nico can't recover this with a ordinary rod.
Yeah, and that Sableye is going to be very important. Oh, and it's even a fresh Mew V Max. It's there ready to go. I would love to have seen the heal at the same time, but it doesn't really matter. Sableye goes into the lost zone. Fabio goes down to 2 prizes remaining. And crucially, yeah, sure, that Genesect's got 120 damage on the bench, but it can't be KO'd with Sableye, and that was a key part for Nico finishing out these 6 prize game.
Yeah, that Lost City, getting back the Lost City off the Silene was absolutely crucial there for Fabio, as now Nico is left with no viable attacking options. You cannot bench a Giratina here. It will just get easily picked off and KO'd. I guess you can attack with Snorlax. That's probably really one of your only options left. Cramorant maybe, but none of those will get you to where you need to in terms of the amount of prizes you have left to take.
What you need to... Right, and this is going to be convoluted, Freya. Bear with me, right?
Okay.
Snorlax with a Mirage Gate and an Energy and a Galarian Zigzagoon combined with Gusting, yes, I know that's a lot, KOs a Mew on the bench.
Okay.
You then bench a Giratina, you cross your fingers super hard, hoping that you can Star Requiem something the following turn for the win. I don't think that's a great plan, or indeed, actually with a Gusting, why would you go for the Zigzagoon? You just pick off the Genesect. So Sableye, maybe you can use Snorlax to take out the Genesect, but you need to KO a Mew.
Yeah.
And the only way to do it is Giratina. I think you've got to bench the Giratina and cross your fingers.
Yeah, and if you're in that position already, you have got to be feeling like your back is already massively against the wall. Nico recognizes this as well, but at the same time, sometimes you just have to play to your outs. Maybe there's a very, very small chance they miss their Gusting, and it still works out. You don't know until you try it, and, well, Nico is experienced enough to know that, I'm sure, and will be making his decisions based on that thought process.
And the problem is, because Nico's so experienced, he can see how small Fabio's deck is at this stage. He can see all the cards in his hand. He knows that, the Genesect on the board. And to be honest, there's a decent chance at this stage Fabio could literally draw his entire deck.
Yeah.
Maybe the last boss's orders is prized. Maybe it's not, maybe those last 2 prizes are both boss's orders. It's so unlikely, unfortunately. But the problem here is, I can see a pretty easy route for Nico taking a KO. But you either need to KO twice with the Snorlax, both times with Gusting, or you need to KO with the Snorlax using Gusting and then KO with the Giratina. I mean, maybe that's it. Maybe you just go full Snorlax, double Gusting, it might work. But that means Snorlax with a Mirage Gate, an Energy, and a Gusting this turn, and Snorlax with a Mirage Gate, Energy, and Gusting next turn. That will win Nico the game, but that is asking a lot. So then the question becomes, what's more likely? You get that, or your opponent whiffs their Gusting?
Well, there's another factor here as well. If Nico does that, but can't counter the Lost City, Fabio KOs the Snorlax, it goes to the Lost Zone, and that plan can't work anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's bad. You've got to bench a Giratina.
Yeah, or counter the Stadium.
But then...
Oh, no, but the Ordinary Rod is already gone.
And do you know your opponent doesn't have access to any more Lost City? Do you know that for a fact?
That's
like we do. We can do the maths. I'm saying, does Nico know that? I'm not sure he does.
No,
he might heavily suspect, but if you put all your eggs in that basket and get Lost Zoned, you lose the game.
And it looks like actually Nico has opted to just say, you know what, Giratina, I can't bench you. You're going to the Lost Zone. So now both the Giratina Vs are in the Lost Zone. Okay,
so there will be no Giratina. We know that for an absolute fact here. So I suppose Nico is relying on this, and it looks like he's passed. And I don't see how Nico can... no, sorry.
It was escape rope.
It was an escape rope. Okay, that makes a lot more sense, if I'm honest with you. We still need an energy for the Snorlax. There is that Galarian Zigzagoon doing a 10
again.
Pin. There is the energy. And we haven't seen a counter Stadium, so I I don't see how this is going to work. Sableye can get a KO potentially. I could have done on the other one. But Sableye's Lost Zone, that's gone. And Snorlax is going to get Lost Zone, that's going to be gone. You give Retina a Lost Zone, they're going to be gone. Do you have both Cramorant, one Cramorant? I think you're literally down to Cramorant as an attacker.
I think you are. And
oh yeah, one's on the bench, one's in the prizes.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, Fabio chose to promote the Genesect there, maybe thinking that he wants to switch it out of a switch cart just to heal it off a bit. I can see the merit in that, but also opts to play the Roxanne straight away, just because seeing how thin the deck is, and going to redraw a lot of that deck right now. But we're going to want to hopefully re-see the switching cart, which he does. There's a switch cart into the Mew. And with Lost City still in play, yeah, that Snorlax is going to go down. Fabio going to quickly check the discard pile just to make sure. He probably wants to see exactly what we're talking about, right? He wants to see, okay, what is the likelihood that this is actually the last attacker that Nico has access to?
See, this is why I wanted the Giratina on the bench. I know, let's be clear, right? Nico is in a bad position in this game, and pretty much all of these avenues are, very small percentage chances. But at least here, if Fabio whiffed the gusting, you could have evolved and then gotten a KO on the Mew. As it is, Fabio is getting a KO on the Snorlax. Now what?
Yeah. And actually, Fabio promoting the Genesect and switching it to the switch cart was very, very clever, because Nico does still have Radiant Greninja, which he could power up by using a Mirage Gate and then do 90 to the Genesect and KO it. Now the Genesect is out of range because it's been healed by 30.
Nice. Good work. Good work, Fabio. So now we're back over to Nico, and what is it? Am I missing any attackers here other than Cramorant and maybe Radiant Greninja?
I'm honestly not sure at this point. I think that at this point, maybe Nico's only route to win is bring up a Genesect and hope that Fabio can't retreat it.
Fingers crossed. That's what he's done.
Yeah.
There is a double turbo energy in hand, so we know that's not going to be an issue. And it looks like Fabio is going to be joining Jamie in the finals.
Huge congratulations to Fabio there. The game-winning play, the stall not working for Nico. The general play not working out for him, and Fabio, we are going to have, exactly like we talked about, a Mew VMAX against Blissey final. So not even exactly what we talked about, even older than we might have talked about.
Yeah, hands up if you had that as your prediction. Now put your hands down, because we don't really believe you. This is not what people thought was going to be the case when we were coming into this weekend. You could kind of see Mew, you couldn't really see Blissey, both of them together. This was extremely improbable. And, firstly, congratulations to Fabio. That was an awesome win against a pretty tough matchup. And also, if you're Jamie right now, you've dodged all the Giratina. So, Jamie told us that Blissey beat everything. So far, proving to be correct. Let's see if we can prove this one more time. I'm excited about the final.
I think it really bears repeating here. We cannot emphasize this enough. You've seen over the course of the weekend, we've had a couple of metagame discussions at the beginnings when we were talking about, how the metagame is going to evolve from Peoria and Salt Lake City. We've talked about it over the course of the last 2 days. Not once in any of our predictions could any of us have said, oh, yeah, it's going to be a Blissey and Mew VMAX finals.
I mean, we mentioned Mew quite a lot as a deck, which is absolutely still around, absolutely still viable. But it's in an awkward position, Mew, because Drapion's in the format. We end up kind of worried, because a lot of good players playing Mew this weekend who ran into one too many hard counter, and it just didn't end up working out. Yeah. Well, actually, we've now got one going into the final, and it might be a pretty bad matchup.
Yeah, honestly, I cannot wait to see how this final plays out. This would be on my wildest expectations for, like I said, the two decks that could be in the final. I mean, Blissey? Listen, I mean, I know we're literally paid. Our job is to say words. I'm out. I'm just out.
I love that Blissey's in the final. I'm going to be honest with you. I love it. Anything slightly unusual makes me happy. Right now, however, we do need to have a word with our second finalist. So we're going to take an extremely short break. I wouldn't even get up if I were you. Just sit tight. We're going to be back in just a few seconds with our winner interview. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our winners interview. Fabio Battistella has just gone and booked his place into the finals of Lille Regionals. I assume you're happy right now.
Yeah, I really am. So basically, it's my first tournament in Master Division.
Really?
Yeah, and so okay, we'll go and try to make some points for Yokohama.
Do you have a history of success in the seniors division?
Yeah, last year I got a top 8 in the European International Championships.
Nice.
And a top 8 in Milan special event. Yeah.
That's not bad going. Well, I've said it. I've said this many times. Players who are good in seniors tend to age up and be really good in masters as well. So, I mean, there was a really key point in game 1 where Nico just needed to get the Giratina V-Star and the Mirage Gate, and the KO was there, win the game. What does it feel like when you're in such an important game and you know your opponent just needs a couple of cars to win the game? How nerve-wracking is that?
That's... I don't know how to say it, because how to express that situation, because it's like you're buzzing and you're trying to hope not that your opponent doesn't get the cards that he needs. So it's like, okay, pray.
Well, we know a lot of people are going after Mew VMAX. We know Drapion V is quite big right now. We know Path to the Peak is quite big. There are some really obvious counters to your deck.
Yeah.
So why did you choose Mew VMAX knowing that so many players have big counters to it?
As I said, I just started with the mindset, okay, I need to get some points for Yokohama, and I just, okay, let's go with Mew. It's a solid deck, it's a consistent, it's basically the most consistent deck in the format right now.
So you came in looking for points because you want to get that invite to Yokohama, which I know is on a lot of players' minds at the moment. And it turns out you've almost got, absolute worst case scenario, second place. That is a nice bucket load of points. So you are going to be well on your way. I don't think it's a secret. You know what you're playing in the final, right?
Yeah, I guess. I'm not sure about it.
I can't give away the surprise. How confident do you feel about the final?
I mean, I just have to pray that Dex works, and then, yeah, if it works, it's perfect.
Well, good luck to you. It's going to be an interesting final. I, for one, am very excited to watch it. And the good news is, with both the top fours finished, the final is going to be here in just a matter of moments. So grab yourself a nice cold beverage, but don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back with a Masters final.